Some people are really doing the best that they can to work out things as far as fighting on behalf of Black people or people of color. Now, Assembly Member Lori Wilson, she's a Democrat of Suisun City, picks up baton to remove slavery language from California's Constitution. She is working alongside Brown and other supporters of the End Slavery in California Act, and they say they are determined to retire the constitutional clause that allows labor imposed on felons as criminal punishment in California prisons. Now, Samuel Nathaniel Brown said he is not surprised that Assembly Member Lori Wilson picked up the baton to carry on the fight to eradicate the phrase involuntary servitude except as a punishment to crime from California's Constitution. Brown, who contributed to writing Assembly Constitutional Amendment ACA 3, the California Abolition Act, while he was incarcerated in prison, stood on the west steps of the state capitol in Sacramento with Wilson when she reintroduced a new iteration of the legislation that failed to pass in the state Senate last year. Now, this time around, Brown, Wilson, and other supporters of the End Slavery in California Act say they are determined to retire the constitutional clause that allows labor imposed on felons as criminal punishment in California prisons. To be honest, we didn't have to lure her in at all. She was a more than willing participant to pick up the baton, Brown said on the February 19th edition of Abolition Today. Championing the clauses of Black people is something she has been doing for a long time and has done in almost every position she has held. It's no brainer for her to continue this fight. Now, Abolition Today is a weekly online radio program with a specific focus on modern-day slavery as it is practiced through the 13th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. It is hosted by Max Parthas and Yusuf Hassan. California is one of 16 states with an exception clause for involuntary servitude in its state's constitution, Wilson said. Should the state legislature pass the End Slavery in California Act, voters will decide during the 2024 general elections if it will become state law. Now, the three states, Colorado, Utah, and Nebraska, have voted to abolish slavery and involuntary servitude. Alabama, Oregon, Tennessee, and Vermont have approved similar ballot measures. I am introducing this legislation because in every position of leadership I've held, from Parks Commission to council member, from vice mayor to mayor, and now a state legislator, one of my responsibilities was and is to end systemic racism and root out discrimination. And systematic racism, and root out discrimination, Wilson said on February 15th at the state capitol. Wilson added, we only make up 6% of the overall California Black population, but we make up 28% of our incarceration population. The allowance of slavery in our prisons disproportionately impacts Black people. Article 1, Section 6 of the California Constitution currently allows involuntary servitude as a means of punishing crime. U.S. Representative Sidney Kamlager, he's a Democrat, California 37, authored ACA 3 in 2020 as a California State Assembly member. Kamlager said involuntary servitude is forced labor. By removing this language from our Constitution, we are removing our state into the 21st century and taking steps to ensure that no California is ever put in a position of involuntary servitude again, Kamlager said last year. Now, on June 23rd, the California Senate rejected ACA 3 with a 21-6 vote. It fell short of the 2/3 vote requirement. 27 or more needed to move the bill to the ballot as a proposition for Californians to decide its fate. June 30th, 2022 was the last day ACA 3 could have gained the votes if it needed to have been placed on the 2022 November general election ballot. It was not heard on the Senate floor that day. 5 Republicans and 1 Democrat, Steve Glazer, or D. Orenda, voted against the amendment. Slavery was an evil that will forever be a stain on the history of our great country. We eliminated it through the Civil War and the adoption of the 13th Amendment, Glazer said in a statement. Involuntary servitude, though lesser known, also had a shameful past. ACA 3 is not even about involuntary servitude, at least of the kind that was practiced 150 years ago. The question this measure raises whether or not California should require felons in state or local jails and prisons to work. I feel like this is something that not only needs to get done, but must get done, Partha said during the Abolition Today podcast. How can you talk about freedom, reparations, economic equity, equality in law, and education while state slavery is still legal? Brown wrote the language in ACA 3 while he was in prison. He was released in 2021 after serving a 24-year sentence. The language of the bill was brought to the attention of Cam Lager by Sacramento activist Jamelia Land. Land is a member of the Anti-Violence Safety and Accountability Project, ASAP, an organization that advocates for prisoner rights. Wilson said she was proud to carry on the work of Brown and Cam Lager and ensured that she is committed to striking the word slavery out of the United States Constitution. This constitutional amendment is now a national movement, Wilson said. The chairperson of the California Legislative Black Caucus, CLBC, Wilson was the first black female mayor to serve in Solano County. First elected to the D-Suisun City Council in 2012, she served as vice mayor for 6 years before winning the mayoral race in 2018. Wilson was sworn into office to represent the 11th Assembly District after a special election last April following the resignation of former Assembly member Jim Frazier. She serves as the Assistant Majority Whip and is chair of the Select Committee on Transportation and Emergency Preparedness. Wilson has the support of several statewide organizations in favor of removing the involuntary servitude clause, the Anti-Recidivism Coalition, Legal Services with Prisoners with Children, All of Us or None of Us, and the Anti-Violence, Safety and Accountability Project, Sisters Warriors Freedom Coalition, and Communities United for Restorative Youth Justice are sponsors. California was founded as a free state, Wilson said. There is no room for slavery in our Constitution. It is not consistent with our values. So with that being said, this is information that is good information. And again, anytime that you're going to vote and you are a legal voter in your state, it is best to vet the information, read up on it, learn the information, and to vote properly, to vote appropriately, to vote for what is best. But knowing the information before you cast your vote, vote, so that you can vote. And that is so important, is to be able to know the information before you proceed to cast your vote. And so with that being said, there are going to be people that are going to have pushback on it. We see that today. We saw it with the hair, with the hair. There was 253 against 189, I believe, in the Dove LinkedIn research that was done about hair bias and racial discrimination of black women and women of color hair and protected hairstyles. So you are going to get pushback, but you have to keep moving forward, and we have to keep moving forward and doing our part and learning as much as we can about these movements and these legislations that come out, because you can't just vote for anything. Oh, it's a new, thing that they're doing. They want to pass this new bill. We have to know about the bill. What are the pros and cons of the bill? How is it going to help us? And things like that. It's so important to, do your research, level up, and to, level up your knowledge and wisdom on these things so that you know how to vote when it's time to vote. Because these laws that they continue to pass has hurt a lot of black people with laws, and there are laws that's not even passing, so that we don't have the protection that we need. And when they say, oh, we already did this, and oh, we already did that, and that's, not related to that. But how many laws have been passed that they are trying to get rid of God, in prayer? They've already taken prayer out of school. They're trying to even get rid of marriage between a man and a woman. There are so many laws that have passed. And look at the laws that go way back 20, 30, 40 years to hold a man accountable for sexual assault, but there is no proof of it. It's just someone getting on a stand, saying something without any type of proof, anything. And you have people just going with it. Oh, he did this, and we see this major major case that that we've been dealing with for 4 years. And so with that being said, again, we have to know what's out there and what's being put on these bills and what's the purpose of it and how will it help people of color and black people. So with that being said, I am going to be doing my part in this fight, in this movement, and in support of this, reading up on it even more, and getting more information that I need so that I can be accountable and I can level up what I need, because I'm forever reading and looking into things. And so when I see something that I may not be familiar with, I'm not ashamed to tell you I may not be familiar with that, or familiar enough to know, until I read it and do my own research and reach out to the people that are trying to get the legislation passed. And don't ever be afraid to call their office. You have a right. I've called the governor's office. I've called my Congress office. I'll call folks in a minute, honey. I have talked with Feinstein decades ago, but I did, about violence and gang violence. I don't have a problem with reaching out to city council, my mayor. I don't have a problem with that, because I'm a taxpayer. And at the end of the day, I want to live a good life also, just like most people want to live a good life, free from violence, free from, discrimination, free from bias, free from a lot of things, And so with that being said, you all, please leave your comments, respectful comments below. And I know it's a lot of Californians that be on YouTube and they be in the chats as well, right alongside me. They say they're from California, they live in California, and it doesn't matter which part of California you live in. But I'm encouraging you all to level up. If you don't know what's going on, find out what's going on. And that's good. So again, leave your comments below, your respectful comments. Don't forget to give the video a thumbs up and share this video. And thank you all for tuning in. I truly appreciate, and thank you all to my subscribers and new subscribers. Thank you.